Well, hello everyone. Today I thought it would be fun to do an overview on my real life career. Basically, I wanted to share my journey into being a PM at Salesforce. I get this question a lot from people on LinkedIn about how I ended up in product management and how I knew it would be the right fit for me and why I chose to go to Salesforce post-grad. So let's get started. So I will start from the beginning. I was born in Pasadena, California. Yay. I kind of a flex about me, but my parents used to take me on walks on Caltech's campus because we lived near there. My parents were hoping the knowledge and the way people were studying would just be put into my head. Later on, I found out that didn't work, and so did they, but it was cool. As part of high school, I was starting to try to figure out what I really wanted to do in the future. And at that time, I decided, I want to be a doctor. A lot of external media often shows doctors being the individuals that are driving a lot of impact in people's life and being able to save a lot of people. And so I was like, I want to do that. And my pediatrician was really cool. So I was like, I want to be her basically when I grow up. So yeah, so my best friend also had gotten into Berkeley, and so we were like, oh my god, let's go to Berkeley. And so then we SIR'd and ended up going to Berkeley, and yeah, I was in for a rude awakening, but it was cool. And then yeah, so now diving into my college career, I think college was very rocky for me in terms of academics. When people always ask me, another big question I get is, what do you regret about college? It's not studying harder, 100%. I just wish I had studied harder. But anyway, I went into college and I started as a chemical biology major, was taking Chem 4A, quantum, something about quantum, I don't even remember at this point, but the Chem 4A class was huge and it was a weeder class, and yeah, I was one of those people that got weeded out. But I made a lot of friends in that class, so those are some of my still to this day best friends. But yeah, I struggled a lot in that class, and then I realized those grades were not enough to become a doctor, and so I needed to find a new career path. And I was really lost because it was my first time kind of getting exposed to all these different majors people were doing, and people are so passionate at Berkeley and so smart. It's like I just couldn't keep up, so I was very intimidated by that. But I had I had a roommate at that time, and she was pre-Haas, and so she was talking about all these consulting clubs she's applying to and stuff, and so I was like, ooh, that sounds fun, I want to do that too. So applied to a bunch my spring semester of freshman year, did not get into anything. I don't even think I interviewed at one, so that was an L. And then fall semester came, took that more seriously, interviewed for one, and I ended up joining 180 Degree Consulting, and this was a nonprofit consulting club, so I absolutely loved it. And this club has taught me more than my actual classes in terms of how to be a successful PM. I gained a lot of soft skills, such as learning how to present, learning how to articulate what I'm thinking, learning how to deck. That's a huge thing. That is one of my top 10 skills in life. I'm really good at decking now. Yeah, and just the way that people were in the club, some will definitely call this toxic, but people are very hyper competitive, and your career is a kind of part of your personality, I guess. And so that kind of influenced how much I was like working and being pushed to work, because my peers were also working so hard to get their kind of dream jobs. And so the summer after sophomore year, I had taken like one computer science class in Berkeley, one in high school, and I was terrible at both, but I applied as a software engineer to Kaiser Permanente, and it was, by this time I'd started applying in the spring semester of sophomore year, did not get anything until the end of spring when I applied to Kaiser as software. And then at the final round, the person interviewing me, actually, he was like, oh, you know, there's one other guy from Berkeley, we're thinking of maybe giving him an offer, you were great, that kind of stuff. I went home and I was like, who is this man? Who is this man? Who is the other contender for this role? But later I found out it was my friend. So actually, like, he wasn't my friend back then, but we ended up being friends later on. So it's fine. It is well deserved. He is a very intelligent person. So yeah, but when I got rejected from Kaiser, the recruiter calls me and he was like, hey, I think you would be a good fit for a product manager role. And so I was like, at that point, I was like so desperate for any role. I was like, I'd applied as a business analyst, business operations, software engineer, like all of the above, everything I was applying to. So I was like, okay, why not try this out? I don't really know what it is. But yeah, so I got the role and I spent the summer at Kaiser and absolutely loved the product manager role. I don't really think I did product management though, because I was the PM, the designer, the engineer, everything for this specific thing that I was building. It was like an internal tool. But yeah, so I did that, and then I really liked my summer. I liked having a cohort of interns, loved learning a lot, just being able to have coworkers, things like that. So yeah, it was great. And then after that, I went into my junior year and I kind of had a better sense that I wanted to do product management long term. So again, did the whole application cycle, applied a bunch of places. Salesforce was one of the places I interviewed with, but did not make it past the second round. And then after that, I finally landed an internship at Sephora, which was great, but I feel like it did not offer me, again, the core like PM training, the cohort of other PMs so that I can really shadow them and learn from them. But it was still a fantastic internship and I learned a lot from the people I was working with, so love that. But during that summer, I started to network a lot more with other people in the product management career. So I was talking to people at every company, and even the person who interviewed me at Salesforce, whom I ultimately got a rejection from, I reached out to him, and that was probably one of the most pivotal parts of my product management journey. I reached out to him and he was able to give me feedback on my interviewing skills. He explained that I need to make sure that I'm developing a product mindset, making sure that I'm able to look at a product like any product, like even a pen, and think about what's great about it, what's bad about it, like really put myself in the lens of a customer and structure an answer around why a product is good or how it should be improved or how it can be better for the consumer. And then he also told me you should read these two books, Cracking the PM Interview and Decode and Conquer. And I was like, okay, cool, this is great advice. So fall came by, this was the fall after junior year, and I again did the whole application cycle. This time I had a couple referrals to certain companies. Salesforce I did not have a referral for, but I had a referral for a bunch of other companies. So I was finally getting the interviews. I was moving along in the cycle. I was making it to final round of a bunch of stuff and then getting rejected. It was a bummer. When people say like rejection is a part of it, like rejection is a part of it. Like I cannot emphasize how much like rejection is just a part of life. Like soon you become numb to the rejection. All you can do is take away and learn from it, and that's all there is. But yeah, so I was interviewing everywhere, and my final two APM programs were Salesforce and Microsoft for the final two that I was interviewing for. And I distinctively remember I was in the final round for both, and it was Thanksgiving break right before that. I sat down at my dining table and I opened Decode and Conquer and I read that book, took notes, did practice. Up till now, I had been casing with people. A lot of my friends were in consulting, so I would sit down and I would do a consulting case for them, and then they would do a PM case for me, like design, whatever, things like that. But I hadn't like figured out how to do the structure, and they weren't able to give me feedback since they were not interviewing for PMs. So it was honestly not the best move, but at that time I didn't really know better. But yeah, after reading that book, I really changed and helped me understand like what exactly I needed to do, and how I need to structure my answers and my thinking. So being a clear communicator is honestly like such a big part of the product management role. So that was a really good thing for me to like figure out how to do, and figure out how to communicate clearly as a product manager in the product on the product. So yeah, after that so the week after I had my final round for Salesforce, did it from 11 a.m. I think in the morning till like 8 p.m. and then went straight to the airport, flew out to Seattle. The most stressful part of this was driving from downtown Seattle, the airport, to Redmond at like midnight. My car was like fogging up from how cold it was. It was so stressful, and it was like, I need to get there, get up in the next day morning on a Thursday, 8 a.m., like get to the Microsoft office and get ready for a full day of interviews. And I was interviewing for Xbox Cloud at that time, so I was like, whew, what is Xbox Cloud? Like, what is it? Everything. So it was just like chaos, but I think I really do thrive in chaos, I guess, because at that time it was my last 2 final interviews, and I was just like, at this point, like, I am going to have no hesitancy, just like put it all out there, like put what I know forward and make sure I have a really good time. Like, I remember clearly these are the 2 interviews I actually had fun in. Fun being a loose term, like definitely have had much better experiences in life, but I actually took the time to really make sure that I was really involved in the problem and really thinking about it, and not thinking about it as an interview, but more so just thinking about, if I was a PM, like what would I actually do? So I did that, and then I ended up getting an offer from Microsoft the next day, and so that was really, really exciting. I remember I cried, the whole crying thing. And then a week and a half later, I got the offer from Salesforce, did the whole crying thing again. And yeah, between the 2, I ended up choosing Salesforce because it had a smaller program and it was in the Bay Area. And I really wanted to stay in the Bay at that time. So yeah, I wanted to also get the chance to get that concrete training experience, and also make sure that as part of a smaller cohort, I would hopefully have access to more mentors, things like that, and it would be more focused. So yeah, I ultimately ended up choosing Salesforce, and that is how I became a PM at Salesforce. So basically, long story short, that was kind of my path and my road to PMing at Salesforce, and I would say it's definitely not as straightforward compared to my peers, but like the biggest thing for me, the takeaways about the whole interview process, all that, is just like, honestly enjoy it. The only time I've gotten an offer is when I was just like, whatever, I'll just enjoy it, do my best. But also do work hard, read Decode and Conquer, cracking the PM interview, figure out how to structure your product answers and stuff like that. And then finally, the last thing is just like, rejections are a part of life. Like, you cannot do anything without the rejection. So even this YouTube channel, like, I don't know how many people will watch this, but it's just a natural part, and you just need to learn how to get over them, learn from them, and keep working towards what you want to do. And that's what's going to bring you the happiest moments of your life. So yeah, hope this was helpful to someone out there, and yeah, thanks for watching. That is my journey to becoming a PM at Salesforce.